What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. You know, life is pretty funny sometimes. I was planning on making a video talking about how the PlayStation 5 controller may just be my favorite controller of all time, which is definitely saying something, and it still might be even after this video is done. But there is one major concern that I've run into in my limited playing of it, just about 1 week of playtime, where the buttons on the front of the controller are starting to stick. JT. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bell for notifications so you don't miss any recent uploads from the channel, even though we know YouTube's probably not going to notify you anyways. I would really appreciate it. So as far as my PlayStation 5 controller is concerned, the X and O buttons are very sticky and slow and sluggish, almost like a millisecond of speed slower than what you'd expect the bounce to be. It feels tired. And I know controllers do get old, you know, the wear and tear of them, and they get weaker as time goes on. But I'm talking like 6 days of playtime, and it already feels like a 4 or 5 year old controller, and it's actually annoying to play games. For example, I was playing Spider-Man Miles Morales on my PS5 the other day, which, side note, one of the greatest games I've played in 2020, not even joking, just beat it, and it's a lot of fun, highly recommend it. But that game requires you to do a lot of moves with precision and combos with the attacks, and you're pressing the buttons vigorously as you play through the game. And I noticed my thumb would get kind of bent out of shape, stuck in trying to do combos because the button wouldn't bounce back when I expected it to, so it would throw off all my timing for everything else, and it just got really frustrating. This was the controller that came inside my brand new PlayStation 5 box, so I know it's not like a used system, obviously, or a used controller or anything like that, and it was already feeling like somebody had used this for ages. Now, instantly when I first got it, there were no problems, but after about a day of playtime, it felt super old. So then I opened up my PlayStation 5 controller box that I got for a second controller when I bought the bundles. I got an extra controller with mine from GameStop. Didn't think I'd really need to break that out anytime soon because there weren't really multiplayer games I planned on playing. But because the controller got so tired, I was like, oh god, I can't even play with this controller right now. Let me get a new one. And before you have concerns, no, I didn't spill any liquids or have dirty hands or my kids didn't play with this controller. They did a couple times, but I made sure they cleaned and washed their hands before they played it because I'm super particular about keeping my video game stuff in top-notch shape and high working order. So nothing from external life, from normal wear and tear, should have created, they're not entirely sticky buttons. I would actually more define them as just tired. They're not bouncing back like you'd expect them to. They're slow to bounce back. Anyway, so my second controller I pulled out and just started playing with, and it feels a lot better because obviously it's brand new, but I don't know if this is going to happen again with it. I already feel like the X button is a little bit slow bouncing back. Maybe that's all in my head because this controller, the first one I played with, just really had a lot of issues with it. And that is concerning. So I went to reddit.com. I actually went to Google and just typed in sticky buttons PlayStation 5 to see if anyone else was having this issue. And sure enough, there is an entire thread dedicated to this problem. And it says controller face button sticking. I'm not sure if I got a bad controller, but is anyone else having issues with the face buttons feeling sticky or squishy? Compared to my PS4 controller, the buttons feel awful to use. Multiple times playing, the X button has gotten stuck for a second and skipped dialogue in the game I'm playing. The D-pad and everything else in the controller feels great though. That is 100% my experience as well. I didn't write this post, but we both had the same problem with our controller. And then there are 61 replies, and almost all of them are saying the same thing. This thread was started 10 days ago, and so far 61 replies on it. And I mean, yeah, it's a very small percentage of people. in the grand scheme of people who've gotten PlayStation 5s, but you also got to consider not everyone who has an issue with the face buttons is going to post on the Reddit thread, and obviously not everyone's going to think there's a problem with it because that's just how controllers are. But this is an issue that needs to be addressed, and if it doesn't get addressed by Sony, there's going to be a major problem moving forward. These controllers are not cheap. They're not cheap to make. They're not cheap to buy. They're $70 USD, I believe, if you buy them individually. And it is rendered completely useless when the buttons don't work properly like they were designed to do. This is a concern. This is something that Sony needs to address if it becomes widespread. It reminds me of the issue with the Nintendo Joy-Cons initially. When the Joy-Cons started drifting and gamers were complaining about how they just got this brand new Joy-Con and it's drifting all over the screen, they can't control it, and those Joy-Cons were what? The same thing, $70 or $69.99, $79.99, whatever they were. Very expensive to replace. That's the issue I'm having with this. I bought it in a bundle with GameStop. I don't want to deal with mailing it in and returning a new one, or dealing with Sony's customer service, which people are saying they've been on hold forever trying to get through, and a lot of times they can't get through to it because everybody's trying to get PlayStation 5 and everyone has issues with everything else right now. So it's a problem. It's something to keep an eye out for. It's something I wanted to make a video on to make you guys aware of, to just have the heads up. If you get a PlayStation 5, just pay attention to the buttons when you first get the controller, if it's responsive, if it's fast, if it works great for you, and if you feel like it slowly deteriorates, actually I should say quickly deteriorates, after a couple days of playing. And if it's almost to the point of you can't even use the controller because it's so sluggish. It feels like I said, just feels tired. It doesn't feel responsive. The bounce is just, there's no spring in the buttons anymore, as opposed to my other controller, and it is extreme compared to what it is like new. And this never happened with any of my PlayStation 4 controllers, and I have played PlayStation 4 a lot. I got my library right in front of me there. I've played through so many games on that, including the original Spider-Man game that came out for the PS4. Never had an issue with any of the face buttons or any stickiness or sluggishness or just not responsive buttons like this is giving me right now. And that is concerning. I had multiple PlayStation 4 controllers, never had a problem. Now I have multiple PlayStation 5 controllers. The first one I got is a dud. The second one, I feel like it could be going down that road just after, like I said, a couple days of playing with it. And it might just be the design of these controllers. Casual gamers may not pick up on it, may not complain about it, may not think it's a problem, may just assume that's what controllers do. It's not. And this, the way it's sluggish, it doesn't feel like it's unique to this controller. It feels like it's some of the material that was used in it that just, it gets weak very quickly, and that's concerning. I don't know if they changed it or what the differences are, but this is coming from, I'm not an Xbox fanboy, I'm not a Nintendo fanboy, I'm not a Sony, I'm not a fanboy. I am a gamer. This is concerning to me. I know people will start throwing accusations at me trying to make up stuff about... No, this is my honest opinion of a controller that I want to love. I want this to be the best controller ever. It's so great. Everything else about it, the vibration, haptic feedback, the pressure sensitivity buttons that get harder to push when you pull an Aeroback and Astrobot. There's so many fantastic things with this, and now you can actually connect it to PCs and change the colors of it with whatever you want the color to be. It's very unique and moldable to what you want it to be. But man, if those face buttons aren't responsive after a week for me, I don't know what the longevity of this controller is going to be if Sony doesn't make some fixes fast. I definitely want to hear from those of you who have a PlayStation 5. If you've experienced anything of this sort, please let us know down in the comments what you're doing about it, if Sony has resolved the problem. If you don't have any issues, if you feel like it's perfectly fine, and mine is just a faulty controller individually, along with all these 60, 70 other people that have complained about it on Reddit as well. This is something that's concerning. Like I said, it strikes me as the Joy-Con issue, the cracking Nintendo Switches, the sluggish buttons on the PlayStation 5 just might be the next big problem for gaming controller devices, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.